right? There's something about this stage of the season that just messes with your head a bit, isn't there? Because if you look at things purely on paper, you'd say we're right in it. 3 points off, still within touching distance, and with a run of fixtures that, at least compared to the others, gives you a bit of encouragement. But then you actually watch the games, you feel every moment of them, and suddenly that confidence turns into nerves again. It's like we're hanging on, not comfortably, but just about staying in the fight, refusing to let go when it would be so easy to slip. And that's the strange thing about this Celtic side right now. 1 minute you're frustrated, even raging at what you're seeing on the pitch, and the next you're thinking maybe, just maybe, there's something here. That goal at Dens Park summed it all up. You're sitting there thinking the season's slipping away, that this is it, and then one moment changes everything. Suddenly the belief creeps back in. It's been like that for weeks now, this constant swing between doubt and hope. And it's exhausting but also kind of addictive because it keeps you invested in every single second. What's really interesting is how the mood among supporters has started to shift, even just slightly. Maybe it's not full-blown confidence yet, but there's definitely a more positive feeling compared to where things were not that long ago. People are starting to look at the table again, starting to do the maths, starting to believe that if we just take care of our own business, things could fall into place. And when you dig into it a bit deeper, it's not actually blind optimism. There's something there to hold on to. Because when you look at how this league season has played out, it's been chaotic for all the teams at the top. Points dropped everywhere, results you wouldn't expect, and no one really managing to put together a consistent run that just blows the rest away. That's what's kept us alive in this. Even when we've been nowhere near our best, even when performances have left a lot to be desired, the gap has never stretched beyond reach. And now we find ourselves in a position where it's still all to play for. There's a stat that really puts that into perspective as well. Across the entire season so far, there have only been a couple of match days where all the main challengers have actually won at the same time. That tells you everything you need to know about how unpredictable this title race has been. It's not about perfection anymore. It's about who can hold their nerve and make the fewest mistakes from here on in. And that's where things start to get really interesting for Celtic. Because if you simplify it, it comes down to something very straightforward. Win your games. It sounds obvious, almost too simple, but the evidence this season suggests that if we can just put a run together, there's a very strong chance the others will slip at some point. They've done it all season. There's no reason to think it suddenly stops now. And that's where that sense of opportunity starts to build. At the same time, though, you can't ignore the performances. That's the other side of the debate that's been going on. Is it enough just to grind out results? Or do we need to see a higher level if we're going to get through these final matches? Because let's be honest, there have been games recently where we've got the points, but not exactly filled anyone with confidence. You watch it and you're thinking, is this going to be enough when the pressure really ramps up? Take the last match as an example. There were moments, especially early on, where you could see the intensity, the pressing, that kind of identity that people associate with Celtic at our best. It looked promising, like maybe things were clicking into place. But then the game shifts, the opposition gets a foothold, and suddenly we're not as comfortable. When the goal goes in against us, you feel that anxiety straight away because you've seen this pattern before. And yet, despite all that, we still found a way. That's the key point. It might not have been pretty, it might not have been convincing over the full 90 minutes, but we got there in the end. And in a title race like this, that counts for everything. Still, it leaves you with that lingering question in the back of your mind about whether we can raise our level when it really matters. That's why this run-in doesn't feel like a normal sequence of league games. It genuinely feels like a series of one-off battles, almost like cup finals where nothing else matters except the result on the day. There's no sense of building momentum from one match to the next, at least not yet. It's more about surviving each test as it comes, dealing with the pressure, and then resetting to go again the following week. You can see that mentality starting to take shape as well. It's all about focusing on the next challenge, not getting too far ahead of ourselves, not thinking about what might happen if other teams drop points. Just take care of what's in front of you. Because if we do that, if we keep picking up wins, the table will naturally start to shift in our favor. And when you actually break it down, the situation is surprisingly clear. 6 games left, and if we win all 6, we put ourselves in a position where it's almost impossible not to be right there at the top. That's what makes this whole thing feel a bit mad. After everything that's happened this season, all the ups and downs, all the frustration, we're still within touching distance of pulling it off. But of course, saying it is one thing, doing it is another entirely. Every one of those matches is going to come with its own challenges, its own moments where the pressure kicks in and tests the players. And given what we've seen so far, it's hard to imagine any of them being straightforward. Even the games that, on paper, look like the easier ones don't feel that way right now, because we know how quickly things can turn. That's where the support plays its part as well. The atmosphere, the energy, that sense of everyone being in it together, pushing the team through those difficult moments. You get the feeling that's going to be crucial over these final weeks, especially in the home matches where we have the chance to really make it count and turn Celtic Park into that driving force again. Because when you start looking at the split and how these fixtures might actually fall, that's where things get even more intriguing. There's always a bit of mystery around this part of the season, a lot of speculation, a lot of noise, and everyone trying to work out who gets what and when. But underneath all of that, there are patterns and guidelines that tend to shape how it plays out. And if you take a closer look, you can begin to see why this could still tilt in our favor. The big thing, of course, is balance. The league tries to keep it as even as possible, making sure teams end up with a fairly equal number of home and away matches by the end. It doesn't always land perfectly, but for the teams at the top, it's usually very close. And in our case, that likely means more nights at Celtic Park still to come, which immediately gives you something to hold on to. Because even in a season where performances have been inconsistent, there's still that belief that at home, with the crowd behind them, this team can find another level. What makes it even more interesting is the way certain fixtures are handled. There's a clear effort to avoid giving any one side an unfair advantage in the biggest matches, especially when it comes to the title race. That means you're unlikely to see anything that heavily skews things one way or another. But even within those constraints, small details can end up having a massive impact. One extra home game here, one difficult away trip there, and suddenly the whole picture shifts. There's also been a lot of chat about potential fixture lists doing the rounds, the kind that pop up and get everyone talking. Some of them sound almost too detailed to be completely made up, which only adds to the intrigue. You see sequences being suggested where massive games are stacked towards the end, creating the kind of drama that broadcasters would absolutely love. And while you take all of that with a bit of caution, you can't help but imagine what it would be like if it actually played out that way. Just picture it for a second. Going into the final stretch with everything still on the line, big matches at home, the pressure building with every passing week. The idea of a decisive game at Celtic Park, with the title potentially hanging in the balance, is the kind of scenario that defines seasons. It's the kind of moment players dream about, but also the kind that can weigh heavily if things aren't going right. At the same time, there's a flip side to that. These situations don't just test ability, they test mentality. And that's something that's been questioned at times this season. Not necessarily in terms of effort, but in terms of control, composure, and the ability to manage games when they start to drift. Because in these final matches, there's no room for lapses. One mistake, one spell where you lose focus, and it can undo everything you've worked for. That's why there's still this slight hesitation among supporters. Even with the league table looking more encouraging, even with the maths suggesting it's there for the taking, there's that voice in the back of your mind reminding you of what's come before. The dropped points, the missed chances, the games where we've failed to capitalize when the opportunity was there. It doesn't just disappear overnight. But then again, that's what makes this run so compelling. It's not a team cruising towards a title. It's a team trying to find a way through uncertainty. Every match feels like a turning point. Every result has the potential to shift the narrative. And in a strange way, that can bring out something different in players. When everything is on the line, when there's no safety net, sometimes that's when you see the best of them. There are also individual stories within all of this that could end up playing a huge role. Players coming back from injury, trying to make an impact at just the right time. Others stepping up when it matters most, delivering moments that swing games and lift the entire team. It doesn't always have to be about sustained brilliance. Sometimes it's just about those key contributions at crucial moments. And that brings us back to the idea of belief. Not blind belief, not ignoring the flaws, but a grounded sense that if things click, even briefly, it could be enough. Because we've already seen how quickly momentum can shift in this league. One result changes the mood. Two results change the table, and suddenly you're looking at things from a completely different perspective. The away games will still be a concern. There's no getting away from that. The numbers show a drop-off, not just for us, but for everyone involved. Traveling, different environments, different pressures, it all plays a part. And there are still some tricky trips ahead that won't be easy to navigate. These are the matches where discipline and focus become absolutely vital, where you might have to win in a different way. But then you come back to the home fixtures, and that's where the opportunity really starts to take shape. Those are the games where you can impose yourself, where you can dictate the tempo, where you can feed off the energy around you. And if those matches include direct clashes with the other contenders, then the impact becomes even bigger. You're not just picking up points, you're taking them away from your rivals at the same time. It all feeds into this sense that, despite everything, the situation isn't just hopeful, it's genuinely open. There isn't a single team that looks completely in control that you'd back without hesitation to go and win every remaining game. And in that kind of environment, it often comes down to who can handle the pressure best, who can stay steady when things get tense. So as we head into these final weeks, there's this strange mix of caution and excitement. You don't quite trust what you're seeing, but you can't ignore the possibility either. It's a position that keeps you on edge, constantly analyzing, constantly wondering what the next match will bring. And with the fixtures about to be confirmed, with the exact path to the finish line about to become clear, that feeling is only going to intensify as everything starts to fall into place. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. A storm appears to be quietly brewing in the east end of Glasgow, and whispers from inside Celtic's training ground suggest that Martin O'Neill has reached a breaking point. While nothing official has been confirmed, sources close to the club insist the Irish manager delivered a thunderous dressing room message that has left players and staff alike on edge. Eyewitness accounts from the training session describe a tense atmosphere, far removed from the usual rhythm of preparation. It's said that O'Neill abruptly halted drills, calling the squad together before, quite literally, banging the table in frustration. What followed, according to those present, was a blunt and uncompromising address that may signal a dramatic shift behind the scenes. Speculation is rife that the manager is deeply unhappy with certain attitudes within the squad. While performances have not been publicly dissected in detail, the tone of O'Neill's alleged outburst suggests concerns that go beyond tactics or form. There is talk of discipline, commitment, and a perceived lack of hunger, issues that no Celtic manager can afford to ignore. Even more intriguing are the rumors of a drastic decision made immediately after the confrontation. Though details remain unclear, some insiders claim changes could be imminent, potentially affecting team selection or even the status of established figures in the dressing room. The phrase, "no one is safe," has reportedly been murmured more than once in the corridors of Lennoxtown. Supporters, meanwhile, are left to piece together fragments of information, with many interpreting the situation as a sign that O'Neill is determined to reassert control. His reputation as a strong-willed leader is well known, and if the reports are accurate, this could mark a defining moment in the club's current chapter. For now, Celtic remains silent, offering no comment on the swirling speculation. But in Glasgow, silence often speaks volumes, and this particular silence feels anything but calm. Hello, fan. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.